The views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting Corporation.
Welcome to your Health and Wellness Hour, sponsored by Luminosity Wellness Center here in Las Vegas, coming to you from the studios of Worldwide Digital Broadcasting. Our goal is to incite and ignite all your senses and curiosities. So sit back, relax, open your mind and your heart, and enjoy the show.
Hi, good afternoon. We're here today at the Luminosity Wellness Center for the Health and Wellness Hour. And today's guest is Erin Vazquez. Did I say that right?
You sure did.
Yay, great. And Erin is a practitioner here at the Luminosity Wellness Center. And she is a life coach. She does NLP and timeline therapy. For any of you who are familiar with timeline therapy, it's like a past life thing. It's a past life regression. So it's kind of cool that we have that. So anyway, we're all here to take care of our own health and make sure that we have ways to heal ourselves. And we have lots of really great practitioners here at the Luminosity Wellness Center. So first of all, we'd just like to ask Erin a little bit about herself and how she got into what she is doing today. What led you up to where you are?
Well, it's been a really interesting journey. I would say I've always had a fascination and passion for helping people. And even thinking back to my childhood, I wasn't one of the kids on the playground at the monkey bars. I have distinct memories of having conversations, really deep conversations with people who needed advice.
So you were coaching people when you were a kid.
on their little boyfriends, or their mom won't let them have sugar, or, you know, like little kid problems. So when I think about it, I've been doing it for a really long time. And then what has happened since then is it's hard to, I mean, it's such an insane journey, but as so many really great things do, my journey into being a coach happened at one of those make or break points, right?
Yeah, and we've all had those, so I know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And from chaos came something really, really great. Absolutely. Yeah. So I started my career in marketing, and that was a pretty good fit because it was storytelling, and I was studying writing. I was an English major, so that was really, that was a natural progression, but there was just something missing. There was never any real enthusiasm or drive or obsession or passion to get better. Like, I found myself doing the bare minimum in order to be good at what I was doing, and there was something missing in my life.
And you could feel that in your soul, right? So that's why a lot of us know when we're not on the right path. There's something more we need to be looking for. You may have the perfect job, but there's that little thing nagging at you inside.
You're absolutely right. On paper, it looked perfect. I had a great job in downtown Denver, which was just on the verge of being like a really chic kind of place to be. I was able to buy my own little house on my own. Like, on paper, it was absolutely perfect. Yeah. But behind closed doors, there was that thing that was missing. Yeah. And what was so frustrating about that was that I didn't know what to do. I thought I should be really grateful, right? Yeah. Especially coming out of the financial crisis of 2008. Right. Why couldn't I just be happy with all of the stuff that I had? You know?
And we all should on ourselves way too much.
Shitting all over ourselves. It needs to stop. So it was one of those things, and I was kind of going along and staying in marketing and trying to make it work. And then something that I didn't really anticipate in my life was that I became a military spouse, you know.
Right. Well, that'll change your life, like black and white, you know, night and day.
Yeah. From going and being in complete control of my life, which actually, we can get to this later if you want, but I had a story that I was no longer in control of my life, and that's part of what led up to me becoming a coach. But I quit the job. I moved to where my husband was at the time, and I became an independent contractor, and I felt like I was really treading water. I felt really lost. And that move was just from Denver to Colorado Springs, so it wasn't that drastic of a change. And then we knew what was going to happen was that we were going to go from Colorado Springs to Las Vegas. And in the meantime, there were a lot of challenges in adjusting to this new life. And for someone who had been, even though I wasn't completely passionate about my career, it was such a huge chunk of my identity. And all of a sudden, not having 2 solid feet on the ground, not having that ability to contribute in that way that I was so used to, I started shutting down.
And when you say shutting down, what does that mean? I mean, you just withdrew from being out in the world and not being around people?
I was depressed. I was really depressed. I had one of those days where I went to the doctor and they said, "What's wrong?" Burst out crying. And they're like, "Here's some pills."
Yeah, I know. and isn't that what we normally get when we, go to the doctor? We get pills to fix everything.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really fix the issue.
No, it really didn't. It was a good stint. It was good for the triage because I really was miserable. And on top of that, I started manifesting debilitating panic attacks. And when they manifested, it was on the highway.
Oh my
So
God.
even though my friends were in Denver, only an hour and a half away from Colorado Springs, I had this deep sense of shame that I couldn't get there. So I would accept social invites and then turn them down at the last minute. Or if I went,
did you know you were going to turn them down?
I think looking back, knowing what I know, I think I knew. And then I created the reasons to make it valid. Yeah. But at the time, it was like saying yes almost in hopes, right? Like that it would work out. And there was this deep sense of shame on top of okay, I can't even go to see my friends, something that might help get me out of this depression. The shame went on top of the depression, and it was just one of those downward spirals.
Wow. And I'm sure a lot of us have experienced that, and we don't know how to get out of it sometimes in some cases.
Well, and what I've also found too was that shame, it keeps you from talking to people and saying, "I need help." Has anyone else experience this? Can we just talk about it, right?
Because you feel like you're the only one in the world experiencing that at the time, and so when you feel shame, you just go inward, like you said, and you stay there, and you don't. Plus, it's hard to admit that to other people that you're in this place.
Yes.
You don't want anybody to know, so it's just easier to go inward and not say anything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that it just, unfortunately, that's the exact opposite of what we should do.
Right.
And that's the instinct also. And I think that, not to say one thing or another about the medications and the SSRIs that are just so ubiquitously prescribed these days, I do remember crying in the doctor's office, and there was almost this freeze, and then okay, how does Alexa sound? And I'm like, whatever helps, and that was it. So that, even going to a professional, added to the sense of shame. And then some other people around you may not know what to do. They may not know that the best thing to do is listen and not try to fix.
Because a lot of times our husbands, I know my husband's like that too. Anytime I'm talking to him, he just wants to fix everything.
Right.
And then it's it just compounds the problem. Finally, you have to say, "I just want you to hear me. Just hear me. Don't fix me. Just hear me."
Right.
So sometimes we have to do that.
Because the problem with being fixed is there's this implicit, unconscious meaning that you're broken, and you're not. You're human.
Yeah,
right?
we're human, and we all go through this.
And our husbands, and not to make rash generalizations, but I'm going to anyway, men really want to fix things, right? They're doing it out of the goodness of their hearts, and then that takes people who are in a depressed state or having anxiety, that calls on them to be very expressive of their needs, which I know isn't easy in the moment, to say, I need you to please listen, please. Right? Yeah. Yeah. But we may not even know that. So, so all of this was building up, and then the real crisis moments happened shortly before I left Colorado, which, keep in mind, I had lived in Colorado on and off for my entire life, and then that stint in Colorado had been, I want to say, 12 years. So it was home, it was familiar. Hindsight 2020, I was in a real funk there, like I was in a real rut, but it was really difficult to leave, especially to Las Vegas, to a city at the time I had no real affinity for. Like, I had a preconceived notion of the city.
Of what was here, because we all think of it as gambling and the hotels, and it's just a vacation spot. And so you don't realize that real people actually live here. That
amazing communities like this one exist, right?
Exactly.
I'm happy to be proven wrong. So
which is nice.
Yes. So what happened a couple of weeks before that, and this was really rough, I had a miscarriage, and that sent me into a place that was so dark that I didn't know how to get out of it. And the first 3 weeks, we had planned this out before we knew that I would have that kind of loss. And so sorry.
It's okay. And this is exactly what happens, when you come in and you talk to anybody, Erin, and you're going through an emotional state. That's what she does, is she's here to help you get that out of your system. And sometimes you don't even expect the emotion to really surface. It just comes up.
Yeah.
But those are good things.
And honestly, the pain that I went through is what made me so passionate about helping others.
Yeah.
Because that place was so dark. Right? And I was by myself in this very weird new city because my husband wasn't scheduled to come out here. We had planned on me setting up the house.
Oh wow, that would be
setting up the house and all that good stuff. And I got that done, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I have to do something. And it was like, what is that one small actionable step that I can take just to get me out of the house and get me out of my own head? Tony Robbins says a lot of suffering comes when we're like focusing on ourselves, right? Yeah. And Lord Almighty, was I focusing on myself and my loss and my pain and my tragedy, right? And like the fact that I had to move somewhere, all of these stories. So the one little actionable step that I took was I got a crappy job as a telemarketer at Hilton Grand Vacations. Another great thing about Las Vegas, tons of jobs. You do not have to be unemployed at all.
It baffles me when people say they can't find jobs here, because yes, I know.
They are falling from the sky compared to Colorado Springs, where it was, I could not get a normal 9-to-5 job marketing. Anyway, that was my crappy job at Hilton was a godsend, because for some reason that was one of the few call centers that expected you to adhere to a dress code. So I had to put myself together, which I didn't know how it was so important to me. When I was working in downtown Denver, I was really good at showing up in a certain way, and then working from home, I lost that part. So then getting back at Hilton, I put myself together. And then from there, I was like, I wonder what else is out there. And
so let me just go there, because now because you have this job, you're able to get out of your head.
Yes.
Right? because now you have to focus on what you're doing, showing up for work every day.
Yes.
So you're not thinking about all of those things that are putting
Yes.
you down into that dark place.
Yeah.
So now you're able to put your focus to other places.
And talk to other people and
Yeah.
learn, even though it's a crappy job. You know, in NLP, neurolinguistic programming, it's basically the study of how linguistics shapes our reality. So if I say it's a crappy job, I'm right. If it's a job where I'm able to learn a bunch of different things and meet a bunch of different people, I actually met someone there who's still a friend to today. And I learned sales skills there that I can still use today. We're all in sales, whether we like it or not.
Right. 'Cause
Yeah.
we're selling ourselves every day.
Absolutely.
No matter what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a crappy job. It was actually a means to something else. So once I was able to get out of the house, stop focusing on my misery, and like look around at Las Vegas and be like, oh my gosh, there's so many things going
much
on
beauty
here.
here. Yeah.
So much beauty, so much opportunity. I was able to look at other jobs in the marketing field. And that was amazing because I got a job as VP of marketing at a business consulting firm. And what that did for me was give me my self-esteem back and
Your value.
my
and,
value.
You
Yeah.
have something to contribute to your community again, and to your workplace, and to yourself.
And
more
to
than anything.
autonomy too.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I know it's not important to everyone, but like when you get in touch with your own values, and I'm able to say it's important for me to go get a haircut without asking for some, you know, like that's just, I've been very independent my whole life. So that's when I started. I was back at marketing, back at being really grateful, and back at being at the realization that this is not my life path.
You're like, okay, I don't want to do this forever.
As grateful as I was. So I thought back to a couple, I've been listening to podcasts where they interview entrepreneurs, and I thought back to some of the things that I've been exposed to, and a lot of that was the coaching industry. And that was something that just seemed so fascinating to me, that you would be able to help people change their lives. And in the interim, I actually had hired my own coach, and she had helped me bridge the gap with a couple of things while I was still in Colorado Springs. So I had experienced the effects
With a coach
firsthand.
already.
Yeah.
So, and you're like, you know what, that's a great opener when you find something that somebody else can do for you, and if it resonates with you, it's like, hey, I could do that. Really,
Right.
I could learn how to be a coach too.
Yeah, and I found myself being really curious, something that I was really lacking with marketing. I always tell my clients there are states of resourcefulness, and my two favorite states of resourcefulness are creativity and curiosity. If you don't find yourself curious about something, then you might want to move on down the line.
Then you're stagnant, and life you can find that hole, you know, that
Oh,
dark
yeah.
place
Yeah.
if you're not curious. And I think that's what life is all about, because no matter what we're doing in life, we should have curiosity for everything.
Absolutely.
Where you're going on vacation, who you're going to meet, you know,
Yes.
a new career. I mean, there's so many things to be curious about. Life has so much to offer.
Absolutely.
I love the curiosity.
It's a really great state. And even when you're suffering, when you're in a state of suffering, you can be in a state of curiosity too. Like curious about what's one small action step I can take to get out of this state of suffering. Maybe it's getting a crappy job at a call center.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's going on a walk. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's calling your favorite aunts.
Everybody has to find that own thing,
Yes.
that whatever they're curious about. And I think that there's just, the world is open up to us. Walking into the wellness center,
Yes.
figuring out what is Luminosity Wellness Center all
Yes.
about. This week we've had several people walk in here and say, I was just
know.
driving by, or I was just driven here, and I don't know why I'm even here.
I know. I just met Norma, and she's amazing, and it's just like this attraction of all these like amazing, wonderful people. It's just,
and all the coincidences, but curiosity.
The coincidences
is what creates that. So that's great.
Well, the curiosity is also, that would be the biggest state. I was like, okay, coaches. So then how do you become a coach? Who's a coach that I really respect? Okay, the Mac Daddy, the big one, Tony. That was really, really intimidating to me, but I remember just having one of those fully aligned, like almost lightning bolt decision moments, and calling my husband from the grocery store and saying, I want to go see Tony Robbins this fall. I don't know how I'm going to do it, and I want to be really close to him. I want to see how he does what he does, because I had watched I Am Not Your Guru and seen those interventions, and I started thinking about it. I was like, okay, so he doesn't just magically do this, you know, like he's clearly a very smart man. What did he study? Quick Google search. What did he study? He studied with the some of the original people in NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, tons of hypnosis. So what was great is that this state of curiosity led me to Unleash the Power Within at in San Jose last year, and because I knew that I wanted to be close to him, I actually got the gift of being coached by him. Wow. In front of 10,500 people.
That's what you call manifesting. Because you put it out there and you said, I want to be close to him, and look what happened.
Well, when you trust your gut, when you have that voice come through you, that shot of energy that comes through you, I invite anyone who's listening to this to trust it.
And trust that.
To trust it and do what you can by any means to go to wherever you need to go to make it happen. I didn't know what was going to happen. I remember thinking I was crazy on the plane from Las Vegas to San Jose. And then that day, I mean, so that's basically more or less.
Yeah. And so just really quick, who is Tony Robbins? Just so our audience will know who Tony Robbins is.
Tony Robbins is who some would consider the original of the life coaching industry. Of course, there have been others in addition to him, but you can watch his movies streaming on Netflix. I Am Not Your Guru. He's a coach, a motivational speaker. He's coached people like Bill Clinton, Serena Williams, Mikhail Gorbachev. He's the person that people call when they're about to get impeached, or, you know.
Right. He is the leader out there. I've been listening to him since the 80s. That's how long he's been around.
Right. So with Awaken the Giant Within, like, isn't that when the...
I don't even remember the names of them. I just remember being familiar with his work and listening to his stuff back in the 80s, and then I just put it on the back shelf.
And Personal Power.
Yeah.
And what happened with that was during that intervention and those 30 minutes, life truly was never the same. And I talked to him about the miscarriage, and he calls on these are tears of gratitude. All of these women just came and held me, and I saw that, like, the suffering, like you were saying, when you're suffering, it is deeply personal, it is deeply individual, but it's also universal. And when we connect with this energy, and when you connect with this energy and are open to that connection and the divinity in everyone, I mean, it's something
amazing. It's amazing when you can experience that, and that's great when you can help other people experience that too. So, but what a great gift for you.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that.
Absolutely. Thank you. Me too. I love that story too. Yeah.
And so after you watched him, then what did you do after that?
So I found out, how can I learn more about this neuro-linguistic programming and this timeline therapy, which at his events he does do timeline therapy. Of course, he doesn't say it. And at his events you're in a deep state of hypnosis pretty much the whole time. Which there was a lady standing in line for security one day. She's like, my dreams are getting really weird. And I'm like, you know, he's rearranging our unconscious mind, right? She's like, really? I'm like, deeply, truly, absolutely. Yes. He's reprogramming us, neurolinguistic programming. And I found a program, again, Las Vegas. I was bearing this as a cross to carry on my back, but there was a program from someone named Tad James, who's actually worked with Tony Robbins, worked with Richard Bandler, who created NLP and did all the studies and everything. Tad James does a certification program here in Henderson, originated timeline therapy, and also teaches hypnosis. And I had reached out to them before UPW, and one of the representatives from that company called me several days after I got back from UPW.
Here you are.
Coincidence or moments of grace? I don't know. Actually, I do know. Moments of grace leading me to my purpose, absolutely. Yeah.
And so we're going to talk a little bit more about that when we come back.
Okay.
But I know when you first came here and you walked in and we got talking, and I had already signed up for Tad James.
I know.
And you had just finished it. So what a coincidence there too, and how, how ironic that was.
Amazing connections here. And also the woman who owns this place, also Tad James graduate. Yeah. So Tad James is real prominent at Luminosity Wellness Center. We've got several people here who've been through that training. So we'll talk about that more when we come back for our break. Sounds great, Shay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joe Peroni.
And I'm Heidi Mancini, and we're the hosts of the Rise Above show. Check us out on WWDB.TV on Thursday afternoons at 2 p.m.
Hi, I'm Mike McAuliffe.
And I'm Perry Haichu.
We're the hosts of the Nevada Cannabis News Hour.
Join us on WWDBTV.com.
Okay, welcome back. Today we are here at Luminosity Wellness Center for the Health and Wellness Hour, and we are talking today with Erin Vazquez.
Yes.
And we're talking about NLP, and before our commercial break, we were talking about your training that you went through with Tad James.
Yes.
So what was that training like, and how did that help you?
That was really great because it can be somewhat daunting to connect with your purpose and be inspired by like the giants whose shoulders you'll be standing upon, and think, I know that I had the limiting belief that I laugh at now, that I couldn't be a coach because I wasn't Tony Robbins. And when
we all want to be Tony Robbins too,
no, I don't anymore,
because you understand your limiting belief.
But knowing that we all have our own ways of offering our services or those skill sets. So when I was talking to the woman from Tad James, I was talking to her and I was like, I don't want to be a hack. I don't want to be just another coach, which were really interesting things. And I don't know, Tony Robbins did this. Great, Tony Robbins did do that, but like no one doesn't,
you have to do
it doesn't matter, Right. She assured me that by the end of that training that I would have the skills that I needed and the confidence that I would need and the opportunities to rid myself of any blocks that were keeping me back from this vision that kept persisting even in the dark times. I was looking at other coaches and watching the videos and everything, that vision of like, oh, wouldn't it be nice to do that? As if it were just this thing that you couldn't do. So anyone who might be listening or watching, if there's something that you think it would be nice to do that, well, it would be nice and you can do it. It's not this nebulous thing that you can't grab a hold of. So what happened with the training, and I didn't know it at the time, but there's something in neurolinguistic programming called modeling, and modeling is basically built on the idea that success leaves clues, right? And if there's something that you want to do, what you do is look at who's achieved the results you want to achieve, and then study what they did. And you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So I didn't know it at the time, but by Googling what does Tony Robbins do? You know, or like, what did Tony Robbins study? I had started on the journey of modeling
without even knowing that that's
right,
what you were doing.
A coach, right?
Yeah.
And then in the master's certification at Tad James, we do modeling in the sense that we break a board with our bare hand by learning how to do so in 30 minutes, whereas in martial arts it usually takes you about 3 to 4 years before you snap it in place. So modeling is a really, really powerful method to achieve your dreams and connect with your purpose. So that's what the training was able to do for me.
So when you went into the training, did you go in basically just for a life coach, or did you go in knowing that you're going to learn about the mind? What was it that attracted you to do Tad James' course? What was it?
I think a lot of it was I had already been fascinated with NLP long before I knew that that's what Tony was doing. Mm-hmm. I've also been really fascinated with psychology. Okay. And when the representative from the course started telling me that we were going to be learning more about Erickson and some of the things about behavioral psychology, I was sold. There was actually a point, like in that crisis sort of time when I was in Colorado Springs, I was researching how to become a psychologist. That's what I wanted to go back and do, but the process is so time consuming.
It's like 10 years, 8 years or something.
Absolutely.
Like that, college.
And then also the licensure for a military spouse may not be really practical, because I could be in any state and quite frankly any country, so who knows how that translates from station to station. Whereas coaching, I'm able to build a base both locally here at the office and worldwide. Yeah. So speaking with her, name was Shay, you know Shay, other Shay. Speaking with her, I think through her skills, she was able to really pick up on my concerns and my desires, prime me to have the experience that I needed to have. Again, language creates our reality. Is it a crappy telemarketing job, or is it something that's saving your life? You know, you decide.
It's just what we tell her.
You decide. Yeah. So she was priming me to have the experience that I needed to have, and she knew that my goal coming out the other end was to have a successful coaching practice. But my blocks were that I'm not Tony Robbins. I don't want to be a hack, right? And she's like, that's not going to be a thing after this training.
And so after the training, was it a thing, or is that something you worked through?
Yeah. I was just speaking with my marketing coach this morning. It's so nice to be able to hire out marketing and not do it for myself. I was telling him, I was like, I feel like I took the Tasmanian devil approach and just went out there and did everything I possibly could, talked to as many people as I possibly could, and I started attracting clients.
Yeah, and I see you all the time bringing people in all the time. I'm like, she's just new here. How is she doing this? You know? So yeah, she's been amazing. So that's great.
And I really too. So my clients tell their friends, and it's just, so on and so forth. So that's what the training did for me. And then I went to the master's training in July, and that's been interesting. I went inward, but for a different reason this time, was to go in quietly, look at structure and strategy, and right now I'm creating a lot of content, coming out with the new branding and everything, and getting ready to serve everyone even more powerfully.
And so will you be doing any kind of training classes, or are you just going to do more one-on-one coaching with people?
It's going to be a mix of both. I will definitely be holding events here at Luminosity.
Great.
Right. Yeah. I'm working with my coach to see what would be a really good fit, but what I really want to help people with is connecting with their purpose. If there's anyone else out there who's like, I should be grateful for what I'm doing, I should be, I want to help them find that thing that makes them curious, makes them obsessed, because I finally found that. It was in my 30s, but I found that thing. I just canceled my cable because I can't get enough knowledge about timeline therapy and hypnosis.
Right.
Like I'm the bookworm that I used to be.
Yeah, it's like you don't even watch TV anymore. So
no. So that I'll be doing courses and trainings on that because I hope people would find that valuable.
Yeah, and I'm sure they will. And just going back to some of the other things that you learned there, because I found the course very fascinating myself.
Yeah.
Some of the things that we learned, timeline therapy we talked about. But one of the things I thought was really great, and if we can talk about maybe some of the things you learned, like was anchoring.
Yes.
I loved anchoring.
Yes.
I thought that was great. So you want to tell us about anchoring and what that is?
Anchoring is a mechanism that we can all create in ourselves that can put us in a certain state, possibly a resourceful state like motivation. Anchoring is most used for motivation. So if someone comes to me and they're procrastinating on something, we'll anchor states. Like if I go like this is where my anchor is. If I do that too
mine's that too. That's funny.
It gets me really excited and really energized. From the fire walk at Unleash the Power Within, he gives you an anchor. Tony Robbins gives you an anchor of yes.
So every time you do that,
if
you just
I
feel that
do
power.
that for too long, I will be out here like tearing across the road, and it puts me in a state where I can do absolutely anything. So think about it. You might already have an anchor without knowing it, like a workout playlist, or with me when I do a lot of writing, I have a playlist of songs that I've had since 2010. So my neurology is deeply programmed that when I hear certain tracks, it's time to go and create that content. Absolutely.
Good deal.
Yeah. And then if you, with our clients, what we were trying to do with neurolinguistic programming is get them into state and then anchor it somewhere physically on your body. And it's so cool because now when I'm having really great experiences, or I'm really excited or really motivated, all you need to do is just keep anchoring it, and it builds and builds and builds. Yeah.
So I find myself, like, every time I'm laughing, somebody's telling a joke or whatever, I find myself tugging in my ear because I want to anchor that joyfulness and that feeling in there. So I'm anchoring all the time anymore.
So you can access those states at any time.
Yeah.
At any time, like when certain things start coming up, because one thing I like to tell people is that things still will happen. Just because we have all of these resources, it doesn't mean that life isn't difficult sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Loved ones get sick, as you know. I just found out one of my loved ones had a heart attack this month, so it's life still happens, but we can put ourselves into states where we are still resourceful and where it doesn't take over our lives. And that's what one of the things that anchoring is really, really good for. Yeah.
And I want to talk about one other one because I thought this one was really powerful. Because we all have this as part of us that wants to do this, and then this part of me wants to do this. Okay? So, and we all have that. We all do that every day. I talk to people all the time, and they're like, I really want to do that, but you know what? Part of me just doesn't want to.
Yes.
So we call those integrating parts, right? So during class, when we were doing this, and I just want to tell you, I thought, I've taken care of all my stuff. I don't have parts, right?
I don't mean to laugh.
Yeah, but yeah, we all think like that.
Right.
So I'm doing this exercise with my partner, and as you do it, your hands get closer. Well, then when it came time to put it up to your heart, when I did that, I just started crying. I was like, where is this coming from? This is not me. But it's like, then I realized how really powerful that really is.
Yeah.
Because you don't even realize that you have these parts.
It's the alignment and the integration. So after that release, when you had that, what did you feel after that? What was so powerful about that experience?
I don't know. I couldn't even tell you right now, but I just know because I'm not even thinking. I'm just going through the motions of class because I'm thinking I don't really need this. And then when I did this and it hit me, I'm like, wow, that was really a lot more than I thought. But I thought, do you know what? This really is powerful and it can work. And I know that there is a lot to this stuff that we're learning that we can go help other people. So
I would say absolutely. And just thinking back to my marketing career, there was a part of me that wanted to be prosperous and, you know, follow the normal path. And there was a part of me that knew deep down in her heart what she was meant to do, but was scared. Both of these parts had the higher intention of being prosperous and happy, but
you had to go through the process.
They weren't integrated at the time to get congruent. And again, it's those moments of congruency, and it is a really powerful process, to the point where our trainers have stories about people who get so scared about being so aligned that they've actually tried to like leave the session in the middle of the session, and you can't do that. But what happens when you're fully congruent and fully aligned, your highest intention is what speaks through you. Like that moment where I was like, I'm gonna go see Tony Robbins. I didn't know what was going to happen. I just knew it had to. And it was just full alignment. And the more that you integrate yourselves in all contexts of your life, career, relationship, family, finances, which is different than career, health, exercise, spirituality, the more you get aligned and integrated with all of those, the more you can act powerfully from just this really strong center. Adriana James, who's married to Tad James, she was there for the Masters, and I remember in the training audio, her saying that she became so obsessed with parts integration, and she did it on herself so much that she was so congruent with everything she does, and she shows up that way too in person, just fully congruent. And there's a certain presence to someone who, that full integration is a total gift. It's a beautiful, wonderful, lovely process to go through.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. So I know we don't have a whole lot of time left, but I would like to see if we can maybe touch a little bit on timeline therapy. Sure. And then what you have to offer. If someone were to call you, how does the process work? What would be the first things you might take them through or have them do? Okay. So
first of all, on timeline therapy, this is a process that was created by Tad James, and basically it's a process that allows you to, I've found that it allows me to build different relationships with certain memories that might have at one point disempowered me to remain a victim, or disempowered me to remain in stories that were not allowing me to achieve the results that I desired. I'm not Tony Robbins, or my parents' divorce, or the miscarriage, or the government controls my life, and since I'm a military spouse. No, absolutely not. It's those memories and those ideas that get installed on an unconscious level early. Yeah. Especially in the first 7 years, they're driving our bus unconsciously. Not because we're dumb or bad or anything like that, because we have no critical faculty the first 7 years of our life. We're just being downloaded with all of these beliefs, like
stuff, from your parents,
education, religion, all of these ideas here, this,
your community, your country,
mostly from well-meaning people. And for someone like me who was meant to do things that are outside of the system, that caused a lot of conflict for me. Like, oh, I should be happy to be in corporate America. No, I shouldn't. I wasn't designed for that at all. Yeah. So going back and revisiting those and getting certain learnings from those ideas at an unconscious level, and also releasing any negative emotions that were associated with the experiences that created those meanings, because that's what's happening. These experiences create meanings for us, And then from those meanings, we attach emotions. Those emotions will drive us to do or not do certain things. And this is the thing, it's not set in stone. We have the power to change those emotions and change those meanings. And that's what timeline therapy does. It's a really great process. It's non-invasive. I've had people completely let go of things. I have no idea what the heck they were letting go of. It's different.
Yeah, because we don't get into the depth of what it is they are letting go of.
It's different than talk therapy in that sense that we don't get content deep. So the person going through the process doesn't have to associate into negative experiences if they don't want to. I've had other clients who want to talk about it, and that's fine. That's fine too. But for others who maybe have avoided therapy or counseling because they don't feel like talking about it, timeline therapy might be a really, really good choice.
I think timeline therapy is very powerful. Yeah. And I know as a past life regressionist, I love the past life, but it's a 4 or 5 hour process. Where timeline therapy, for somebody who doesn't want to spend 4 or 5 hours experiencing that, they can do the timeline therapy and really quickly. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out process. Like, very fast.
It can literally change your life in like 10 minutes. 10 minutes. I mean, goodbye to PTSD, goodbye to the belief that you're an addict. It's
amazing.
It really, really is.
Yeah. So if someone were to call you, what's kind of the process that they would go through if they wanted to make an appointment to see you? And then we'll find out how to get your information.
Okay.
How they can contact you.
So when someone contacts me, what I'm really curious about is what do they hope to get from coaching? What are their expectations? So if their expectations, if they are looking for a guide or accountability to get them from where they are to somewhere else, somewhere forward, to move forward, if they're in a stuck state, or they were like me, like, I need to do something different and I can't see past my own walls of suffering, I want to help them with that. And whatever the presenting problem is, I'll normally dig a little bit to see what the problem behind the problem is.
Sometimes people don't even know what the problem is.
No.
They just know they want to move forward, but they don't know what the problem is. So you ask questions to kind of dig a little deeper to find out what the true issues might be.
Just a little bit. We don't go too deep into that because what the biggest goal is setting the goals, really. So what I do is work with people and talk about what goals they'd like to achieve, where they're going in their life. I get them in touch with the why, the what, the how. And through that process, we're able to see if we're a good fit for each other. And once someone signs up and commits to working with me, we normally start off with that timeline therapy that you mentioned, because once all of that release is made, then those beliefs that leave you like, oh, I can't be a coach because I'm not Tony Robbins, that program isn't running the show anymore, right? Like it's gone. It's like, no, okay, let's get to business. Let's take some action right now. So from there, we can do parts integration, we can do hypnosis, we can and accountability and strategies. And depending on what they want to do, sometimes I work with people for 8 weeks, sometimes I work with people for an entire year. It's all dependent upon the person.
That person.
And yeah.
Okay. Well, how you want to give us information and let our audience know how they would get in touch with you and find you?
Yeah. So you can contact me at Erin at erinvazquez.com, and that's VAZQUEZ. My website is it's under construction. There's a lot of new branding coming out, but my website is erinvazquez.com. And you can also reach me by telephone at 720-427-2112. And I would love to hear from you. Where are you going? What are you ready to achieve in your life? What questions do you have? reach out to me. If you're in a dark place, let's have a 10-minute conversation. Let's see if we can get you out of that state. No one needs to be there. And also, let's talk about where you're going, because you have a purpose and you were meant for prosperity. I know, and I would love to help anyone who resonates with this. I would love to help anyone get there.
Great. Well, thank you, Erin, for joining us today. It's been great.
Thank you, Shay, for having me.
Yeah, and we'll also put your information on the bottom of the video when it gets on YouTube there. So.
Great.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a great day. We appreciate you all joining us here at the Health and Wellness Hour. Thank you.